YouTube, how we doing? It's Matty B. Welcome back to the channel. And as always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Had an epic night of supercross in Detroit tonight. I only got to watch the mains because I've been at Motorama in a smoky arena all weekend, so my eyes might be a little red. I don't know. I'm not stoned. Just been at Motorama, but hell of a night of racing in Detroit. Good stuff in the 250s and the 450s. Unfortunately, a few more people bit the dust, but it's supercross. You'll have that. So yeah, I'm in my hotel room, about to rest up for day 2 of Motorama tomorrow. But yeah, just going to try to get into some quick thoughts. I figured there's going to be some hot topics because some of the things that went down tonight. But starting with the track, yeah, honestly, not the best track, but we've had a lot of good ones this year. And yeah, they're not all going to be perfect, that's for sure. And really, not that big of a deal. I think the best guys, for the most part, won anyway. It's just some tracks are more exciting than others. But yeah, it's pretty basic. I feel like a lot of it probably has to do with the small floor size. But one thing I did like, how they took out that the quad in the section right after the start, and how whatever they did, whatever they put in there, when they changed it, I really liked that because it opened up 2 different lines. Also thought it was cool they had that little single into the whoops, just so you could create a jump line or you could skim. So I always like seeing different options, but not the best track. I'm sure there's going to be better ones moving forward. Now let's get into the 250 class. Here's where the controversy lies. First and second place, Levi Kitchen and Max Anstie. Damn, I feel bad for Anstie. Like, that sucks. He had it. He was making like it was 11:30 at this hotel I'm in right now because he was checked out. And yeah, red flag, prayers up to McAdoo. And the thing is with those red flags, if the medic people down there, if they say they need them, they're going to throw it. Like, they got no choice. So for whatever reason, McAdoo's obviously banged up, so they decided they needed the red flag. And I and probably most of the rest of you would have thought the race would have been over. But yeah, I guess the 90% rule or whatever has been abolished for the last 2 years. I guess 2 years ago they made a new rule where no matter what, they're finishing it, and no matter how much time has passed before the red flag, they're doing at least green, white checkers. That's why, even though there was only, less than a minute on the clock, they still did like 3.5 laps. So that's kind of the lowdown on all that. I got to be honest with you, I really don't like it. I mean, as an unbiased fan that doesn't care who wins, I think it's awesome because the fans got to watch everybody line back up and do a little sprint right at the end, and guys were going back and forth. I mean, even RJ had a chance at it at one point, so there was 3 guys going for the win instead of Max being 7-8 seconds out. So in that regard, it was great, but I just know how much work, or I shouldn't say I know, but I have a feeling, I have an idea of how much work goes into these wins and just to be as good as these guys are, and I feel like he just got robbed of it straight up. I feel like the race should have been called, but the rules are the rules, and yeah, not much more you can say about that. Whether we want them to change or not, they are what they are, and yeah, the guys had to deal with what they were dealt with, so seems like Kitchen was kind of gifted the win, but I honestly don't even really feel good saying that because he did get a gift, but he saw an opportunity, saw an opening, and he grabbed it with both hands and took it. He came out of that restart firing, and I feel like Anstie was taken aback a little bit. It's got to be hard to, just be smoking everybody and then have to re-rack it and have everybody right on you. And then, on the other hand, it's got to be hard to just have Max walk away from you by 8 seconds and then re-rack and pass him, pull away, and get the win. So super clutch ride for Levi. I was really high on him coming into the season, and after last weekend, I just seemed like he looked off all weekend, so I didn't know what to think. But yeah, he's looking good now, and definitely, I think we're going to see a lot more of he and Max fighting for these wins. And wow, how about Anstie's interview, just calling out the team owner who's like totally known for making rational decisions with his riders. Who do we think Anstie's riding for next week? I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but if there's one team in the pits I wouldn't be surprised to see fire the points leader. It would be Bobby Reagan. So stay tuned for that. Maybe that's just some weird way they motivate each other. I don't know, but I loved it. Third, RJ, as we know, coming in hurt with the broken wrist. I think he's going to get better by the weekend. I'm not necessarily ready to write him off for the championship just yet, although he is in a tough spot with like a 17 and a 3 or something like that. So he's got a deficit, but I think he's going to get better and better. He might click off some wins, and he's definitely going to be in that conversation along with fourth, Tom Vial. I really think the only way he repeats this championship is just off of straight consistency because a lot of these guys have him on speed. He doesn't really have the flash or anything like that, but he's just going to be there every weekend. He shouldn't have any bad races, and he'll just keep on putting in those solid laps, no huge mistakes, no really bad nights. And at the end of the season, that kind of stuff adds up. And then one more thing to consider, the East-West showdowns, I think, are maybe the biggest element in both of these East and West Coast championships because there's 3 of them this year. So a lot of points can be made and lost in those East-West showdowns. So I think that's really what's going to tell the tale. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down when we get to those. And then rounding out the top five, we had Nate Thrasher. Good on him. He got thrashed at the practice track. Apparently, Dax went AWOL, went into the wrong lane, head-on collision, something crazy like that. Thrasher had a broken finger, but he soldiered through. Speaking of soldiering through, mega impressed with Chance Hymas in the sixth spot. I think he's gone 6-6 so far, so hopefully we're not sixth again. I don't want to see him going all Antichrist, but coming in with like 4 days on the bike, awesome riding from Chance Hymas. And then seventh, Forkner. Really pretty underwhelmed, honestly, but we all know he was sick last week, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know too, if you get sick enough, a week later, you're not perfect by any means, and at this level, you got to be firing on all cylinders at all times to be at the top end of the field, and he's just a little bit off, so I kind of hypothesized maybe he's still not feeling the best, but he also just doesn't quite look like himself on the bike, so obviously the race tracks are a lot different than the practice tracks, so maybe still some adjustment going on there. I mean, he's been on a Kawasaki since birth, so I still think this might be good for him, man. Pressure could not be any more off. Now he can just try to click off some results, try to build and get better, and then maybe next year will be championship season. No choice. And then last but not least in this 250 class, poor one out for McAdoo, man. I can't believe how many times we've seen this. I hate it. I honestly have become a fan just because how hard the dude's work and how hard he's grinded to get where he is, how much heart he shows when he rides. I mean, like I've said before, he'd race from the grave, and I'm really just hoping I don't have to see him try that because he laid himself out heavy tonight. So prayers up, Cam. And we know he already came in wounded with the ACL injury as well. So hopefully this isn't enough to keep him completely out of the season. But when you rack yourself that hard, probably at least a week or two off is in your contract. Now onto the 450s. What do you know? Another classic Kenny Webb battle. Like they said on TV, I think like 3 of the 7 closest finishes ever have been between those two, and they all end up going to Webb. And dude, I would have bet my house that Coop was going to get Kenny. And I mean, I don't even own my house. I rent it. So it would be a hell of a return for me. But I think even Coop knew it. He was just sitting back there the whole moto. He knew he had Kenny right where he wanted him. He's just going to wait for them last 5 minutes, start revving, start showing some wheels, start pressuring. And just watch him crumble. And I was super impressed. Like Kenny fought back hard at first, and I thought he was maybe going to hold on to it. But then he made like his best move and then went wide the next corner. So that was a little bit of a bummer. I can't imagine he gave up on it, but it almost looked like he, thought Cooper was a little closer than he was and let him have it or what. I don't know, but we've definitely seen a lot of fight out of Roczen compared to the last few years. We just didn't quite see him finish the deal tonight, but Coop first, Roczen second, and Coop now tied with our third place rider, Chase Sexton, for the red plate. Sexton hits the gate down in the first turn. I mean, he looked like some of the performances I've seen at Motorama from gate drop to out of turn 1 today, but after that, he put his head down, he dug, and that was a hell of a ride to go from dead last all the way back to third. It's definitely helpful. No Jet, no Eli, no Prado. He's not on their level, but he'd be hard as hell to pass, but that definitely helped a little bit. But to go from on the ground and hitting the gate to the podium, that's a ride that championships are made of. If he wins this championship by a couple points, you can look back on a night like this and thank yourself for that at the end of the season. But, after you hit the gate, I feel like he's got to try to keep the emotions in check and reel it in and try not to turn one mistake into two. But I feel like even if he didn't crash, he's probably going to finish third anyway. And I don't know who I am to try to talk about what Chase should and shouldn't do, man. He's a unit, a savage, and a strong ride for third, tied for the points lead. Then fourth, Malcolm Stewart. And is this just what we're going to get out of Malcolm nowadays after that win last weekend? I think we're going to use this momentum and hold on to it tight. He looked really good all day, good in qualifying, good in the main. It's not like he started up front and just hung out up there. Like he went forward all the way to the end. And, with racing, it's so mental. You proved yourself that you can do it one time, and then the rest of the times come so much easier. Everything just gets easier, starts coming together a little bit better. So Malcolm is riding on that wave of confidence in a fourth, so good for him. Then fifth for Jay Coop. Y'all already know he was jumping the whoops, no choice, but another solid ride, 4-5 the last 2 weeks. He's got to be happy about that. Then sixth, bummer for El Hombre. Had a fourth in the bag. I thought he was going to rough up Sexton for that spot on the box, but Chase finally ended up giving it to him. Had fourth, but he crashed on that really technical triple single out, and kind of lucky that wasn't a worse crash, but ended up picking it up for a sixth. And on odd weeks, he's good. On even weeks, he's not as good, so expect a podium next week. Then I got to skip back to the 9 spot. Got to give a shout out to my boy AP. Whole shot. We saw some fire out of him finally at the beginning, going back and forth with Kenny. And kind of like I was saying with Malcolm, I feel like the opposite is true for AP. You know, you have a few bad races in a row. It's really easy to let things spiral downhill. So I feel like that's the cycle he's stuck in right now. But the whole shot, getting out front, stuff like that, that'll definitely help you break out of it. But I do know AP got really sick on Wednesday and was just trying to make it through the night. He said his chest was on fire. So I think we're going to see more good things coming from AP moving forward. I think we're just going up from here. And then last but not least, in this 450 class, I really want to give a shout out to my boy Jerry Robin, 15th straight into the main from the heat race as a privateer. And we need some more respect on this guy's name. Like the guys that he's qualifying ahead of and around and qualifying and the lap times he's throwing down and going straight into the main. Dude, he's a bad dude. I mean, he'd come to the local track anywhere and you guys, your jaws would drop. And then he goes out and gets lapped once, maybe twice. I don't know. But these guys are all bad dudes, next level athletes. And yeah, shout out to Jerry. Shout out to all you guys that race Supercross. Way better men than I. I couldn't even make it there without getting hurt. So yeah, bravo everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed this little quick summary from the hotel. Let me know in the comments what you think. If I'm dumb, if you agree, what you like, what you don't. And I'll catch you guys next time.